Lance is now out for the season and is scheduled to undergo surgery later this morning. In yesterday's game against Seattle at Levi Stadium, Lance broke his right ankle in the first quarter of the 27-7 win over the Seahawks. Backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo came off the bench and threw passes like that. You can see he kind of looked like his old self, and the 49ers got the first win. With us now in studio is Stephanie Sanchez, who's the host of 49 Carats podcast. You know, I was deflated, I was upset, and I think I heard a lot of my friends who were watching the game with me yesterday criticize Kyle Shanahan. Does Kyle Shanahan deserve the criticism he is taking over using Lance essentially too much as a running back? That was a designed running play.
Yes. Well, I think the one thing about Kyle Shanahan throughout all of this is that he's been pretty unapologetic in the way that he's used Trey Lance and how often he runs him. You think about, this goes back to last season. In that first Trey Lance start against the Cardinals, he ran the ball 16 times in that game. And just last week against the Bears, he ran it 13 times, which was a team high. And so a very defensive Kyle Shanahan yesterday talking about the game. He mentioned, the Buffalo Bills do this a lot with Josh Allen. And that's true. And so that's fair. To me, it's not so much about the play call, right? To me, it's the volume of times that Trey Lance was running the ball that really, I think, puts him at risk for more injury. And you can say that this injury could have happened maybe if Trey Lance ran the ball just once. Or if he ran the ball 10 times, it still could have happened, right? So no one is saying, Kyle, don't ever run the ball with Trey Lance. But I think the point is, and what it all boils down to, is the volume. And you would think that with all the picks that they invested in Trey Lance, you hope that this is the guy, your quarterback of the future, of the long term, that you would try to mitigate the risks. And so I think that's what it boils down to.
Okay, so some people, the more cynical ones of us, were like, okay, this kind of gets him off the hook with the quarterback controversy. Now yes. Jimmy G comes in, right? There's no more controversy because Lance is unable to play. Mm-hmm. They have to get a backup quarterback. Is this actually going to be kind of a, I would never want to say hidden blessing because Trey Lance is hurt, and we hate to see that. But can the 49ers actually take advantage of no quarterback controversy to have Jimmy G come in, essentially pick up where he left off, and during this Super Bowl window have a very serviceable quarterback?
Right. Well, I think when the 49ers brought back Jimmy Garoppolo, I think we can all agree it was a bit of a head scratcher, right? It was a little confusing at first. But once the dust settled, I think we all agreed this is not a bad thing, right? Should anything happen to Trey Lance, the 49ers still certainly have a chance to pursue a deep playoff run. And I would say that now with Jimmy Garoppolo, it becomes an expectation that you go to the Super Bowl. I think with Trey Lance,
because he's the backup, it's ridiculous to assume that he has backup, like the expectation of him as a. If this was Nate Sudfeld, right? Yeah. The expectations would be a lot lower. This is Jimmy G, who many say should have been the starting quarterback. Right. So now they're expecting him to go deep.
Yeah, exactly. And with Trey Lance, the hope was a playoffs that he would learn on the fly. But now, again, the expectation is Super Bowl for this team. And, they were able to pick back right off where they left off, from last season with Jimmy Garoppolo. They were very happy for him.
Some people say he looked a little rusty, but, he's going to get back. I do want to ask you about something else other than the quarterback. The 49ers yesterday, their defense looked a lot better. Nick Bosa was an animal, right? 2 sacks, a lot of pressures, and he looks like Nick Bosa. The defense being so good, is this the reason why there is so much pressure for the 49ers to win now?
Yeah, absolutely. The defense is what gives them that advantage. And so the quarterback, pretty much what they have to do is just don't screw it up. So I think with this defense, they're the ones that give them that hope and that expectation that they can go for.
Steph, I know that your podcast is always interesting. It's called 49 Carat, right?
Yes, 49
And you can get it where you get your podcast. I know you're going to have a lot to talk about. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.